All right, welcome back to the Island Contracting Nightly Sports Coverage. Walsh, along with Chris Mueller for tonight's show. Pitt football team had 7 All-ACC players. Rashad Weaver, he's also All-American, ESPN All-American. And the Pitt basketball team lost to Louisville at home tonight by the score of 64-54 by 10. Rashad Weaver definitely deserves. He's going to be a high draft pick, potentially maybe some guy that the Steelers might target.
Yeah, he's a guy I really like. I love the perseverance in his story. He rips up his knee. Was supposed to be, in a lot of ways, their best returning player before last season. So well-deserved honor for Rashad Weaver. Not only that, I know we love Pro Football Focus in this town, right? I actually do. A lot of other people got all mad and in their feelings when they were not very kind to Ben Roethlisberger when the team was undefeated. Rashad Weaver, a Pro Football Focus All-American too, Richie.
Yes.
So the guys who study every play at every level, they loved him too. I would love to see the Steelers get a playmaker on that side of the ball, regardless of who it is, another one. But guess what? They need some help on the offensive line as well. Maybe Jimmy Morrissey wants to replace Marquise Pouncey in this town. I don't know. They need somebody, though, because that offensive line looks rough as well.
Yeah, they might need a guard. Speaking of the Steelers' offensive line, we'll get to that in a second. But first, I do want to mention, by the way, I received this in the mail today. Speaking of Pitt, they're sending out this book. I don't know if you knew this, the Panther Plates book, the cookbook. All the coaches are in it, and you can see. And if you turn to page 138 or 139, and look who's in that.
Oh, I can't see that well. Is that you?
That's me.
Did they put your mug in?
I'm part of the book. I'm part of the big Panther Plates cookbook. If you want to go buy it, just go to the University of Pittsburgh website. You can find it.
Richie, they needed to put your hair on better display. You know how they can touch photos up? They needed to make your hair pop even more on that page. That's my opinion.
Well,
that's how I would have done it.
I mean, it's a KDKA picture, so 138, 139.
I know, but just retouch the thing. Just make it a little bit brighter, make it pop, make it stand out. Come on, it's you. People should, by the way, to the people on Twitter, giving poor Richie a hard time last night because he was just questioning Ben Roethlisberger.
One of your peers.
Delusional?
One of your guys that you work with did. Told me to go to bed. Colin.
Who?
Colin Dunlap told me to go to bed. Yeah.
Yeah, Colin was saying that I think Ben needed to hang it up if it got any worse. So what, is he the only one that's allowed to criticize him? My goodness. That is one thing. Like, listen, I love this town and I love the people that are so passionate about sports. But you can tell that there's like this shock to the system at the idea of going away from Ben Roethlisberger. Because remember, people said, oh, it was 20 years between Bradshaw and Ben. Listen, you can't keep holding on. If the guy doesn't have it anymore, you have to call it like you see it. I thought there were a lot of people trying to cope last night with what their eyes were showing them, and it wasn't pretty.
You can't pay him $41 million, plain and simple. He's not worth that right now unless he turns it around these last 3 games and they go on to win the Super Bowl. You can't pay this guy $41 million. So, all right, let's go out to the phone lines. We got Frank out in Lincoln Park. How you doing, Frank? Frank, you there?
Yes. Hello?
Yep.
Okay, why would not Tomlin take Ben out? Is there something that Ben's in charge of the team? I mean, really.
Frank.
I think that would be a major ego blow at this point in the season. And I mean, here's the other thing. As much as I am very much of the opinion that he's pretty much done as far as being a guy certainly that can lead a team to a Super Bowl, I just don't see it. Look at Mason Rudolph and look at Devlin Hodges and look at Josh Dobbs. Look at the other quarterbacks on the roster. I mean, does anybody out here believe that any one of those guys is going to be any better? I mean, that's also a commentary on their drafting and development at that position. It's been bad. He's their best option, and he's not a good one right now.
Yeah, I mean, 75% Ben is better than what they have. So, I mean, look, I was saying maybe you think about it in the second half because he was playing so bad. Just maybe give the team a spark, see what Mason Rudolph has, and potentially bring Ben back in or something. But you got to stick with Ben at this point for the rest of the season. They don't have a better option. So let's go back out to the phone lines. We're going to go out to Mike in Oakland. How you doing, Mike?
What's up, gentlemen? Happy holidays to both of you.
Thanks for calling, Mike.
Same to you, Mike.
Definitely. Thank you. A couple things about Ben and then Tomlin. I'll get your thoughts. I actually disagree with you, Rich, about 75% of Ben is better than what we got. Look, Mason Rudolph, he was hurt last year. They won 8 games with him and Duck. I mean, it's not like these guys are totally horrible. And I tell you what, at least Mason can throw the ball more than 10 yards downfield. I mean, last night he was 1 for 12. I mean, his passes, as you said, no zip on them. They were underthrown. I mean, the guy's finished. I mean, he has a dead arm. And I don't really understand why why he wasn't benched. And I think if they get off to a bad start again on Sunday against the Colts, they should put Mason in. I mean, Ben doesn't dictate this anymore. I mean, he's on his last, in my opinion, his last legs here, and I don't know why Tomlin didn't do it yesterday. And the other thing about Tomlin is, briefly, I think he's not living up to what the hype is with this guy. Because he has no losing record in the regular season, we need to give this guy a pass. 3 straight December collapses, 3 playoff wins in 10 years, and the coaching staff seems totally out of sync with what's going on.
Mike,
it's ridiculous.
Mike, I will tell you this. If I were going to levy a major criticism against Tomlin, I mean, wins and losses are the head coach's purview, so I think that's relevant. That coaching staff just feels like it has absolutely no originality, no new ideas. Matt Canada was the guy brought in to freshen things up, and I think he did for a while. And then I honestly believe Ben wasn't crazy about some of that. Like, he just wasn't comfortable even though it was working. That's where Tomlin's got to put his foot down and say, we're still going to do this. I do think the offense is just, it's chicken wire and duct tape at this point. There's only so much the head coach can do with that. But I'll buy this. I'll buy the idea that, hey, if the head coach gets a lot of credit when they're at 11-0, he needs to wear a lot of the blame, even if it's not necessarily his fault directly when they've lost 3 in a row. And one more thing, Rich, to what Mike said there. If they get off to a bad start in the second half of that game last night and Ben maybe turns it over instead of generates 10 points, I honestly would love to have seen what would have happened halfway through the third quarter if that game was 17-0 or worse. I think you maybe would have seen Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, what would it take to see Mason Rudolph right now? I mean,
most of the time I would say an injury to Ben, but I think if that game had gotten any worse, considering the lack of quality of the opponent, I don't think Mike Tomlin would have been vilified in town. It would have been the A1 story for sure, but I don't think people would have blamed him or vilified him for going to Rudolph if it had gotten any worse than it did.
let's go out to Joe in Bellevue. How are you doing, Joe?
Bill.
Hey.
Joe in Bridgeville.
Yeah,
Joe
Bellevue,
in
Bridgeview.
yes.
Joe, okay. Let's go out to Nunzio and Braddock. How you doing, Nunzio?
And happy Christmas.
Thank you.
I think the fickle fans of Pittsburgh have jumped off the bandwagon, and they need to understand.
Why are you still on it, Nunzio?
There's still been a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah, definitely, Nunzio. I appreciate the call. There's no question. Bud Dupree, Devin Bush, those injuries are killers. And look, if you take the whole season, 11-3, I would take that right now. I thought they were going to be 10-6. 11-3 is a great record, right? But when you look at it as the way the season unfolded and the way they've been playing here at the end, it doesn't feel like an 11-3 team at all.
If you inverted the record, if they had started the season with 3 straight losses in these games, and then the Giants game was their most recent one, and they were on a big-time roll and had won 11 in a row, we'd all feel completely different. We'd be saying, boy, they started so one-dimensional. They were beat up, but then they got healthier. Their offensive line started to come around. They're running the ball. You'd feel pretty good about this team. It's all about how you've arrived at this juncture, this point on the schedule, and they have arrived like a rickety old cart that had all the wheels either go wobbly or fall off once they won their first 11 games.
Hey, Chris, what do you think about the Juju dancing on the logos? I mean, I know it didn't really impact the game. Maybe it's motivation for the other team.
Ben
are
hung
you
him
fine
out to dry with the pass. Ben hung him out to dry with the pass, but if you're Juju and you're going to unapologetically say, I'm going to be me and I'm going to do my thing, then you've got to deal with it when Von Bell chin checks you and you fumble the ball. You've got to wear it. Joe Hayden, I thought, maybe illustrated the idea that they know they have bigger problems than that when he sort of backed Juju. I've usually backed Juju, but if you're going to do it, live with the consequences when somebody knocks your block off and you turn the ball over.
Yeah, this is kind of an unwritten rule. I mean, we saw a couple, you're not allowed to step on a logo in a hockey locker room or, on the ice. I mean, it's kind of an unwritten rule, maybe not so much in football, but I saw Phil Bork was tweeting it yesterday. So, I don't know. It is kind of. The
logo thing is weird, but athletes are weird and they all look for like this extra edge. I don't actually think it imparts any motivation. I think if the Steelers were winning the game and he was having 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, no one would bat an eyelash. But that's why I go back to the default answer here. If you're going to do it and you're going to do it unapologetically and build the brand, be ready for the consequences when you don't deliver the goods in between the lines during the game.
And speaking of Joe Hayden, that is our Tri-State Office Furniture tweet of the night. And here it is right now. Joe Hayden said, my dog at Team Juju, dancing is the least of our problems. Take our L's like a man and move on. See you Sunday. So that is from Joe Hayden today on Twitter. We got to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls. Some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.